Hi and welcome. Thanks so much for watching this video. Today I wanted to talk about some obstacles you might come across when you move to Sweden. Some situations apply at the very beginning when you're new to Sweden, and some depend on the situation you are in when living in Sweden. So hopefully this video will help you to kind of prepare for those obstacles and know what to do when you come across them. If you're new to my channel, my name is Julie and I'm originally from Germany. In the past 10 years, I lived in London, UK, and then 3 months ago, I moved to Stockholm in Sweden. As I always say, I just wanted to document my new adventures here in Sweden from the very beginning to give you a little insight what it is like to move to Sweden and just in general the findings and impressions I have of moving and living in Sweden. Of course, this is very personal, but I'm sure there are some tips you can take away from my experience. So let's talk about these 5 obstacles. So the first one is the Swedish social security number, also called personnummer. Depending on where you are in your journey, if you did some research or if you already moved here to Sweden, you're probably familiar with it. But I definitely haven't heard of it until we decided to move and kind of started our research about Sweden. And the thing is, without this social security number, life can be a little bit difficult here in Sweden. For example, you need it for opening a bank account, although I did mention in one of my previous videos that we actually didn't need to have this personnummer, which was quite lucky because that's not very usual. So in general, you need the Swedish social security number to open a bank account. And then you also need it, for example, for your vaccine. So this is obviously very specific to the times we are living in. You can actually get it without your number, but then you have the problem of proving that you actually got the COVID vaccine. So I've seen this actually many times in posts where people were happy to receive the vaccine and then they wanted to travel back to their home country and they didn't have the right documentation. So there's 2 things. One is actually getting what you need and what you want, and then the second is you kind of have to have the right documents, a certificate to prove that you actually did it. So you see, not having the personnummer could lead to some obstacles at the beginning of your new adventure. And the problem with it, normally you maybe just apply for it in a few weeks, you get your Swedish social security number and everything is fine and you can move on with your life. Unfortunately, again, COVID-19 is a reason why everything is also very slow. I have heard of people who have waited more than a year for their number, and that's quite shocking to me based on what you actually need the number for, which is everything. So yeah, I just wanted you to make you aware of this obstacle. We struggled as well with it, but I feel we were quite lucky. We had a relocation consultant who helped us speeding up the process, and we got it after probably like 2 months, which is really a short period of time. But those 2 months still seemed a long time waiting for it and getting things done. I definitely called so many people and tried to get things done. It was very difficult. And the next obstacle is actually about holidays, and that really surprised me. This is a new information I just got and it shocked me a little bit. You know, I had the feeling that Sweden is great for holidays. There are normally many holidays you actually get from your employer here in Sweden, but apparently not so in the first year of your work life in Sweden. So yeah, I'm curious if any other people experienced this, because I was told it's the Swedish law, but I definitely have not heard of it, nor was it in the contract. So it will be interesting to know your experience if you have any with it. So leave a comment down below. So yeah, what is this all about? You don't get any holidays in the first year of you working in Sweden, which I find is kind of the opposite of the work-life balance Sweden is known for. You do have 2 options and both don't sound very great. One is basically that you take some holidays, and if you stay less than 5 years, you have to pay them back. So no paid holidays. And the second option is you just don't take any holidays. So yeah, 1 year can be so long. I have to say that's very odd. And I do have to do a little bit more research and ask people I know here in Sweden about it, because literally I just got the information and I just wanted to tell you guys about it to make you aware of it. But yeah, the next obstacle is when you are a parent, and it is about the kindergarten. You know, I already talked positively about the kindergarten. You know, it doesn't cost much and it is a really great institution here, which is still true. But what I also learned over time is that it comes with a few restrictions. For example, you really need to be full-time employed to make the most out of it. If you don't work, or if you have a part-time job, or if you even have a second baby, then the hours are reduced. Partly it makes sense to me because, you know, it is also encouraged to spend time with your children. So if you do have the time, then you should spend the time with your children. But on the other hand, if I think about it, especially having a second child and you have reduced hours in kindergarten, you have 2 kids at home, and juggling that can be very difficult. And also it got me thinking, you know, about all the well-being and taking care of yourself, which, you know, the Swedish are quite known for. But yeah, when it comes to kindergarten, then, you know, you can't just stay at home and maybe take care of yourself a little bit whilst the kid is in kindergarten. If you don't work, then you are just not entitled to so many hours. So again, it really depends on your household. If both parents are working, then again, if maybe one is looking for a job, but you don't get a full-time spot for a child when you're looking for a job. I have seen a few posts going around in those forums and groups where some moms were quite desperate, you know, to get some time off, but they were just not eligible to get a kindergarten spot because they were not working. So yeah, I haven't experienced this myself because I've worked full time, but I just wanted to mention it here because depending on your situation, this might be something you have to bear in mind. And then one thing I also wanted to mention is summertime. So if you're deciding to move at summertime, then you definitely have to be aware of a few things, a few obstacles which might come your way. Whilst it is really nice to actually move to Sweden in summer because you can enjoy the good weather, the beaches and everything, when you want to get things done, and one of it is, for example, the personnummer, then things are slowing down here and it is really hard to get anything done. Many Swedes are on holiday, so there is less staff taking care of things, and you often get an email back saying, this will be taken care of in 3 weeks' time. Yeah, especially with kindergarten, this was something which really frustrated me sometimes. Again, it's not Sweden's fault, it's how they work. And I'm only mentioning this here because it is good to know. Maybe you can avoid to move to Sweden in summertime. Maybe you can do it a little bit earlier. I mean, we didn't really have the choice, to be honest, because we just found a job and then they wanted us to come here as soon as possible, and that was summertime. But yeah, again, it's good to know sometimes what you can expect, and maybe there are ways around it, or you can plan ahead. And last but not least, I also wanted to mention housing here. I did talk about it in previous videos, but it would be really bad if I didn't mention it here with all the obstacles when you're moving to Sweden, because this is probably one of the biggest ones. I'm still a little bit in the middle of trying to learn everything about it and trying to figure out what is really the best to do here in Sweden. And it seems it is buying an apartment or a house here in Sweden. But obviously this is not possible for everyone, and also some people just don't want to stay that long, maybe a year or two, then maybe buying an apartment or a house is not an option. And it's also very unlikely that you can do that straight away when you're moving to Sweden. So yeah, because of the housing shortage here in Sweden, especially in bigger cities, or at least in Stockholm, it's a bit harder to find a rental apartment. And there's also something where the Swedes are on a list for getting an apartment pretty much from birth, and the list is long, so getting on that list is very unlikely for people who are just moving to Sweden. So then there's an option where you can rent apartments first-hand or second-hand, but it is a bit more expensive, and the worst I find is that it doesn't actually last that long. So the normal contracts are 6 months or 1 year. And then after a year, you kind of have to find a new apartment, which can be really tricky, especially when you have a family. Again, I saw some posts on these groups and forums where people desperately looked for a new apartment because their contract ended and they had their kids in school nearby. So it was really hard for them to find a new flat in the same area in a few months. So it's just really important that you're aware of it when you're coming here to Sweden, that you do your own research and maybe also think a little bit in the long term and planning ahead, because that makes it easier to live in Sweden. So I just wanted to make this video to put these obstacles out there so you can be aware of them. I thank you so much for watching this video till the end. I hope this video was useful. Thank you so much for watching till the end, and I will see you in my next video. Have a great day and stay safe. Hej då!